Bhagavati Tadidam Vishwamahitam Gritamaya Guna Gritanaguna. Ladies. Narayane Bhagavati Taitam Vishwamitam Kriyatam Mayoruguna Sagada Bhagunasvata. Narayane, unto Narayan, Bhagavati, the personality of Godhead, Tadidam, all these material manifestations, Vishwam, all the universes, Ahitam, situated, Grihita, having accepted, Maya, material energies, Uruguna, greatly powerful, Sarga Adau, in creation, maintenance, and destruction. Aguna, without affinity for the material modes. Swataha, self-sufficient. Translation of the material manifestations of the universes are therefore situated in his powerful material energies, which he accepts self-sufficiently, although he is eternally without affinity for the material modes. Purport. The question put by Narad before Brahma concerning the sustenance of the material creation is thus answered. Material actions and reactions, as the material scientists can superficially observe, are not basically ultimate truth in regard to creation, maintenance, and destruction. The material energy is the potency of the Lord, which is displayed in time, accepting the three qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance in the forms of Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. The material energy thus works under the supreme spell of his lordship, although he is always transcendental to all such material activities. A rich man constructs a big house by spending his energy in the shape of resources, and similarly he destroys the big house by his resources. But the maintenance is always under his personal care. The Lord is the richest of the rich because he is always fully complete in his six opulences. Therefore, he is not required to do anything personally, but everything in the material world is carried out by his wishes and direction. Therefore, the entire material manifestation is situated in Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonal conception of the Supreme Truth is due to lack of knowledge only, and this fact is clearly explained by Brahmaji, who is supposed to be the creator of the universal affairs. Brahmaji is the highest authority in Vedic wisdom, and his assertion in this connection is therefore the supreme information. All the material manifestations of this universe are therefore situated in his powerful energies, which he accepts self-sufficiently, although he is eternally without affinity for the material modes. Prabhupada says the question put by Narayan before Brahma concerning the sustenance of the material creation is thus answered. So that question came up in the, this is the 6th chapter. That's entitled the Purusha Shukta Confirmed. So in the 5th chapter, there's at the beginning of the 5th chapter, there's Narad Muni speaking. And Narad Muni is asking his father, Brahma. He's saying, well, you look like you're doing everything. You look like you're the creator, you look like you're the one that engineers everything. Actually, you look like God. And he's putting those questions to him. He's saying, yet we are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you. When we think of your great austerities in perfect discipline, although your good self is so powerful in the matter of creation. He says, Narad says to Brahma, whatever we can understand by the nomenclature or characteristic and feature of a particular thing, superior, inferior, or equal, eternal, or temporary, is not created from any source other than that of your lordship, though you are so great. Brahma, Narad Muni is telling Brahma, you're God, you're doing everything. And I'm sure you all know how the material universe is created, right? It's pretty simple. It's done by an engineer, this Lord Brahma, and he is empowered by the Supreme Lord himself. All the energies come from the Supreme Lord, and Brahma utilizes that mix to cook his khichdi, and Krishna gives him the recipe. Brahma puts it all together. In the Bhagavatam, the Sarga, Visarga, first creation, second creation, 10 topics, 2 of which Sarga, Visarga. Sarga is the creation of the elements. Krishna does that. And then Krishna gives, you get the rice, the dal, the spices, the chili, the coriander. He gives all these to Brahma, and then he gives to Brahma as well the way to do it. So this is how you do it. And Brahma puts it all together. So when you look at it from a point of view, from our point of view, you think like, wow, Brahma is God, definitely. And interestingly, in that chapter before that, Brahma explains how you get the knowledge to do that. That's the best part about it. Because basically anyone can do it. But you have to be qualified. And that qualification, Brahma talks about it. And Krishna also talks about it in the Bhagavad Gita. And that qualification basically is that you have to have a certain attitude which is correct to be able to do this. So Narad Muni asked all these questions, and then some 60 or 70 verses later, then there's your answer. And all this, when Brahma answered to Narad, he was very careful that he told him, this is how you do it, and this is the process that you use to do it. It's very important, because there is, like you call the scientist, Prabhupada mentions in his report, he says, what's a scientist? Scientist, according to the mundane, normal mind, is someone who discovers. He just discovered the cure for cholera or discovered modern technology. But according to the Bhagavatam, the mundane scientist is someone who observes. He doesn't do anything, he just observes. And what does he observe? He observes what Krishna is talking about the Bhagavad Gita, the Macho Maya Dyakshina Prakiti Suryate Sacharatarame Tunanina Kunteya Jagambi Parivartate. That the material manifestation is going under Krishna's order. And it's like a machine, Yantra Rudrani Maya. We are in a machine, but we are a machine within a machine. And the machine always has the operator that is running it. So that machine is running. But a scientist, modern is someone who looks at the machine and says, he discovers. Because he has special tools and special things like microscope and whatever. And they don't discover, they just observe how it works. But that's not science. Science is how you experience how it works. So therefore you have two words. You have jnanam and vijnanam. And jnanam is the knowledge, but vijnanam is when you actually live it. You experience it. So Brahma, when he explains that to Narad, he makes sure that you know the difference between the two. And really speaking, there's no science in this material world, because everything is mutating. And as everything mutates, you come to a conclusion one day, then you're pretty sure that the next day it's going to be wrong. So that's not really science. That's simply observing the facts. And as you observe the fact, then you declare, we have discovered this, but it's not discovery. It's already going on by the operator. So Prabhupada says here that this material action, he says material actions and reactions as the material scientists can superficially observe are not basically ultimate truth in regard to creation, maintenance, and destruction. And why are they not truth? Because what is the definition of truth? Huh? Yeah, but what is the definition of truth?
Always correct.
Always, yes. That's truth. Truth is that you make a statement and it's always there. If you say, I'm wealthy, or I'm healthy, or I'm this or that, well, it'll be true, but then it's not true again. So that's not really truth. So Prabhupada is mentioning here that in relation to creation, maintenance, and destruction, they don't actually observe that truth. Then the material energy is the potency of the Lord, which is displayed in time, accepting the three qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So what we're experiencing in the material world here, we're experiencing as the material world, but the reality is that it's not the material world. It's actually the energy of the Lord who is displayed and perceived differently. Just like the electrical company, it's dishing out the electricity. But what you do with the electricity, that would make you perceive it differently. Like when you're at home and you receive electricity, and then you plug in the heater, and you'll get heat. And you plug in the freezer, and you'll get cold. So it's the same way if you, Krishna displays his energy. This is the Ladini Shakti, Ladini, Samvit, and Chit potency. He has three potencies. So in the spiritual world, they're displayed as those three, which is the blissful, Chit is all-knowing, and Samvit is the existential. But when this energy comes through the material world, then it comes as Sattvagun, mode of goodness, Rajagun, mode of ignorance, and mode of passion, and Rajagun, mode of ignorance, Tamagun, mode of ignorance. So, the idea is that because the perception of the jiva is the one that makes it material or spiritual. So the idea, for example, like the Hare Krishna movement, is to train the individual to perceive matter not as matter, but as the energy of the Lord. And the training that one undergoes is the ability to change that perception. So you basically, to make it simple, you have one energy that is spiritual and it turns into material energy because of the tatastha. And so you have the internal energy of the Lord, and then suddenly here we're dealing with the external energy of the Lord. But in the middle there, you have the tatastha. And the tatastha means like the water that comes on the sand, there's a line, and that line here, it's never really defined. It moves. So tatastha means that the jiva is situated in this tatastha. And the jiva basically can look, the jiva can see both. It can see the internal, the Ladini Shakti, the internal energy, and he can also see the external energy. But the potency of the Lord does not see the mundane energy, does not see the material world as matter, because it's not. It's actually spiritual. But we, because of our particular mentality, we perceive it as matter. And perceiving as matter means it has those four things. You perceive it as decaying, you perceive it as disease, you perceive it as birth, growth, etc. So, in order, like sometimes you talk about well, how is it that if we're so nice in the spiritual world, it's all perfect, and Krishna is so nice, why is it that we leave the spiritual world? But you don't really leave the spiritual world. You, as it says here, the energy of the Lord is tatastha. So tatastha means you come in and you contemplate both. You have a look at the internal energy of the Lord, and you have a look at the external energy of the Lord. So it's like if I give you a choice, you got two rocks, and you say, choose between those two. Which one do you want? As soon as you make a choice, then the other one is out. You only have that choice. So when the living entity is manifested, then the living entity simply has two choices. You look at the internal energy of the Lord, you're attracted by that, so then you become empowered by the Ladini Shakti, and you make progress towards love of God. And if you're not interested in that, then the only other option is this, the material energy. So that's basically how it works. So it's very simple actually. So the idea here presented in this text is that the material manifestation is therefore is situated in his powerful material energy, which he accepts self-sufficiently. It's not like in the Christian, theology that there is God and then there is some kind of Satan who is his competitor. Vasudevam Sarvamiti, that Krishna is one without a second. But the Christian theology explains that there is a second. There is the what do you call him? The Lucifer, the guy with the thorn and fangs and whatever. And then they're fighting. So you always get that impression, well, I've got to fight against the material energy to get, but no, it's one energy. But the interpretation of it makes it mundane or not. So becoming a devotee of Krishna means that one has to develop a desire to be attracted to Krishna. That's as simple as that. Because once we make the choice between the two rocks, then we made the wrong choice, obviously. And then the reason for that is because we have no attraction for Krishna. So the way the Hare Krishna movement is designed is that it's to develop, that's called Vaidhi Bhakti, where you develop an attraction for Krishna. And how is that developed? By practice. So this is stated in the second chapter of the Bhagavatam, when is that verse? What is it? 1 to 18? Huh? No, 1 to 17, 18. It's Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya. What is the first line? What? No, Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya, the one that we recite every morning. No, but after that, Shrimatam Sakata Krishna Punya Shravanam Kyata. Nasta Prayesu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya. Bhagavati Pati Naistiki. So this is the process, this is let's say the hard part, where one, by hearing the Bhagavatam, by hearing about Krishna, by discovering Krishna, one becomes eventually attracted to him, and then gradually turns towards Krishna. So this is what you call the faith. The faith is not something that, wow, I have faith in God and that's it. No, the faith means that there has to be something more than the way we perceive Krishna's energy. As soon as the living entity has this, and this is by association, frankly speaking, as soon as the living entity thinks, the jiva thinks that there is something else than this, then he starts turning his attention towards something superior. And at that point begins the process of being attracted here to Krishna. But that process will be quite lengthy and bumpy because of our different conditions. But the idea is to understand that this, as it's explained here in this verse, that there is no difference between the material energy and the spiritual energy. The difference is what we make of it when we sit in the middle, and we are created like that. we are manifested. So therefore, there's no such thing as we fell from the spiritual world, or we did not fall from the spiritual world, because when we talk like that, it means that we're trying to place the spiritual world in time and space. But spiritual world doesn't exist in the time and place. Spiritual world can be present right here, depending on how we perceive it. This is why here it's stated that his energies, he accepts self-sufficiently. That means self-sufficient means you don't need something else. So Krishna doesn't have a competitor. He doesn't have something else that he needs to compete against. He is eternally without affinity for the material modes. Just like the electrical company, when he's providing you with electricity, he doesn't have a particular affinity what you do with it, whether you turn on your fridge, your television, or whatever it may be with it. So this is the principle of creation, but we need to understand where we're situated, and we need to understand by the process of Bhakti Yoga how we can start getting attraction towards Krishna. It's ultimately very simple, but unless we do this, the perception of the material world will always be combined with the effects of it, which is suffering. And as you can see, there's because it's not because of time and place and time and space. You can be in the material world, but you can live like in the spiritual world, or you can be in a holy place, but actually be in the material world, depending on one's consciousness. So the process of Bhakti Yoga is simply to change that consciousness into being attracted to Krishna. Once one is attracted to Krishna, then he will get enthused by the Hladini potency, and with that enthusiasm, he will make further progress towards Krishna. Okay? Any questions on those points? Yeah, he says the material energy is the potency of the Lord which is displayed in time.
I was trying to understand what does he actually mean by that. Is it that in time these things happen, or within the potency of time it's happening?
The material energy is the potency of the Lord which is displayed in time, accepting the three qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance in the forms of Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. To my understanding, this means within the time factor, because when the Lord displays his internal energy, in order for it to become goodness, passion, and ignorance, time has to be there, past, present, and future, which represent goodness, passion, and ignorance. So when this energy is filtered through time, then we experience his internal energy, but through goodness, passion, ignorance, which filter through the time factor. So I think the first one. Is that what you said?
Yeah, just under the influence of time.
Yeah, under the influence of time, yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's in time, because Krishna doesn't work according to, time and space. So it's the time factor that influences his internal energy, and then his internal energy turns into this external energy which we are dealing with. And that's what in time means. Do you think that's right?
Starting the class, you discussed that you need certain attitude to fulfill all Lord's instructions. What's that attitude?
The attitude is to have an attraction for the Lord, actually. If you're not good at anything, but you desire to become good at what you're doing, definitely you will get help. That is the attitude. And certainly because we chose the wrong rock, we are definitely not qualified to be attracted by the internal potency of the Lord. But just because we have a desire, then we become somewhat qualified. Then the next step is how we treat those who help you in the process. And that's within the 10 offenses. Therefore, the first offense says that one should not blaspheme a devotee who has dedicated his life to spread the holy name of the Lord. So the second stage is to be careful how one is grateful about the association that made him turn himself towards the Lord. And the third thing is to understand that we need Krishna's mercy, and to do that we need to apply the Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya means that you serve the Bhagavatam and you serve the Bhagavata. That means you serve the devotee by showing that you're actually wanting to understand Krishna's internal potency. Then you're serving. And at the same time, you're hearing from the Bhagavatam. So these are the attitudes that are required to make some progress. But ultimately, it's a sincere desire not to be fooled by the external energy of Krishna. But that's a matter of attraction. Oftentimes we're more attracted to Maya than we are to Krishna. We like our garbage. It's quite sad actually, but it's that's the direction. We like to always go back to that, and we say, oh, I need it. I can't do without it. Like the Goswamis, they gave up eating, right? They gave up sleeping. And for us, it would be, don't even think about it. Because we're convinced that we need it. So to various degree, we need that association with Maya. So by the association of devotees and by service, we gradually become aware that we don't need it.
Just at a point on this, the answer that I got to this question a lot by the senior devotees in New Zealand and elsewhere was that in the beginning that's duty consciousness. That's what Bhagavad Gita says.
Yes.
You just do it because you should. Like it's your occupation, it's your natural occupation. If you want to understand your spiritual position, you perform duties as a matter of requirement, obligation, and then you develop attraction.
Well, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that clearly when he says Saguna Samati Atan. Etan means you just do it. So if you want to come immediately to the transcendental platform, the transcendental platform means that you're not affected by the material modes of nature. Sagunan Samati Atan. So if you're not affected by the modes of nature, it means that whatever order is given to you by the spiritual master, you just do it, whether you like it or not. That attitude will make you not be affected by the modes of nature. But the problem is that we don't mind the modes of nature, It's quite nice. Feel comfortable there. And, why should I change? It's quite nice, So then we develop the mentality of the pig in the stool. Eating stool is pretty good actually. But now then you get some fresh ones. Quite tasty actually. And we have that mentality frankly speaking, we just, yeah, I'm comfortable with it. And that comfort is the illusory of the Lord, illusory energy of the Lord. So to get out of that, yeah, there has to be duty. So, but in one sense, it's very simple, very easy. But in another sense, is to stick to it. That is the difficulty. But if one follows the process, and then there's no doubt that he will come out at the other end. And the difficulty is to stay on the process, stay with the process. That's the difficulty. So therefore duty is, yeah, number one requirement that is stated in Bhagavad Gita. As Krishna speaks to Arjuna, he says, well, whether you like it, just do your duty, because that's what you're supposed to do. Okay. Anything else? Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai.